What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Therapy on Two Wheels. Today I'm going to be talking about the 5 things that I hate about the BMW F800R. Let's jump into it. Alright, so I'm going to start off by saying that I actually do love this bike. It's a fantastic bike for what it is, and especially for the price point. So a lot of these things are going to be a little bit more nitpicky. It actually took me a while to think of 5 things that I do actually hate about this bike. And yes, some of these I could just go for upgraded parts, but for me, when I buy a bike, especially stock, I want to like how the bike is stock, and maybe just upgrade a few components that might make it more comfortable for me or more convenient for me. Not necessarily just for the look or the sound of the bike, but more so for comfort is a bigger factor for me. So the first thing that I would say that I do hate about this bike, and this is generally one, probably one of the only ones on the list that I have a disdain for, is finding neutral on this bike. Now, a lot of bikes that I've ridden, super easy. When you come to a stop, half click up, put it into neutral, no problem. Probably the first month that I had this bike, I would either come to a stop and need to put it in neutral, or if I'm going to a gas station, and when I get it to a stop, I would have to click up and down between first and second gear at least 10 times before I could find neutral, and that was going very slowly and not putting too much pressure, not being too jerky with it. I'd be very soft with my try to shift up into neutral from first gear, and it just did not want to go. It would just go right from first to second. I didn't feel any clink in between. So that is generally one thing that I do not like about this bike, and it is higher mileage. It's got 45,000 miles on it, so I don't know if it's something with the transmission being a little bit more worn down. It was sitting for a while before I bought the bike too, so maybe it had something to do with that. So maybe it is just my bike and it's not the BMW F800R in general, but that is one thing that I do not like about this bike, and is quite a bit frustrating, is not being able to easily find neutral compared to a lot of the other bikes that I've ridden and a lot of bikes that are out there. The second thing I hate about this bike, and that's definitely an annoyance, is the vibrations above about 5,000 RPM. Under 4,000 RPM, you really don't get any vibrations. It's very smooth. Once you get about to the 4,500 mark, that's when you start to feel them. And then at about 5,000, and when you just notice a huge difference in the vibration, especially in your handlebars. You don't feel it so much in your feet, which is not too bad, but in the handlebars themselves, like right now, right at 5,000, like it's very, very buzzy. And if I kick it up even higher in this second gear, I'm at 7,000 RPM now. It's like my hands, if I kept it at 7,000 RPM for 20 minutes, they would go numb. So there is some higher vibrations on the bike. It's really not that bad though, because it does give more of a feel that you're connecting with the bike and you can actually feel that engine moving. And if I wanted to, like I'm only in second gear right now, I'm going 45 miles per hour at a 20 mile per hour turn. So a lot of the area out here is 20 to 25 mile per hour turn. So I usually just keep it in second gear. But if I wanted to get rid of those vibrations, I definitely could kick it up into third, drop it down another few hundred RPM, get it closer to that 4,500 or under, and really have no problems with vibration. So you do have the ability to kick it up into a higher gear, although this bike does not like to dip much below about 3,000 RPM. You'll feel it kind of jerking a little bit back and forward, kind of chugging along, because it wants to go faster. It doesn't like sitting at those lower RPMs. So for me, perfect kind of in between is usually that second to third gear, and keeping it around 4,000 to 7,000 RPM, and it's quite a bit of fun. But just know that once it gets above that 5,000, so if you are planning on taking this on the highway or freeway for an extended period of time, and you're planning on bombing down the freeway at 100 miles per hour, there's going to be a lot of vibration in those handlebars and in your hands. But if you keep it at about 70 to 80, it's only about 4,500 RPMs. Really not too bad for those longer distances. The third thing on my list for the top things that I hate about the BMW F800R is the look of the stock exhaust. It's hideous. You know, the sound isn't too bad. It's actually decent sounding for a stock exhaust, but the look of it, they really did not put much effort into the exhaust on this bike. They could have done a lot better, especially for a BMW. There's so many BMW, especially the sport bikes out there that has beautiful exhaust. It looked like they built the entire bike. They went from, you know, front to the back, looked beautifully, and the last thing that they had to do was the exhaust, and they have half a day to create it or something. Like, it just looks like there was no effort at all put into the shape, the look. I mean, the thing is huge. It just does not fit with this particular bike. I could get an aftermarket part, yes. There's tons of aftermarket exhaust that I could put on here, but from stock, you would think that BMW would have a little bit more style in this type of bike, and it's just bad. It just looks horrible. The fourth thing that I hate about this bike is the front here, where there's supposed to be a fuel tank. The fuel tank's actually in the back. It's underneath and behind the seat, so there's nothing underneath here. It's actually hollow. If you're, you know, just standing there knocking on it, you're not going to hear anything under here. Like, the engine doesn't even go up that high, so there's literally nothing under here, and they didn't do anything with it. There's no storage space. They could have put like a little storage compartment here, so I could throw, you know, my house keys, my garage door opener, little things like that. There's just nothing here, and it seems like a huge waste of space. Aesthetically, it doesn't look bad. I mean, mine was sitting out in the sun, so it has a little bit of fading on it, but the practicality, like, I don't understand why they didn't just put any type of storage or something here, or maybe a little bit more like styling, tank pad, whatever it is. Like, they could have done something. It's just very plain and useless for the space that they could have used right here. And then the last thing for the top 5 things that I hate about this bike is going to be the instrument cluster. Now, you do have the analog speedometer and tachometer, and then on the right hand side you have kind of a little display that's going to show your gear indicator, gas level, coolant temperature, all that stuff. And it's not bad, but it definitely could be better. I understand that this is more of a budget bike, so it's not meant to have, you know, like a TFT display or anything like that, especially for this price point and the other things that come on the bike. But for me, I mean, this is the 2015 model. They could have easily done an LCD speedometer on here. I'm not a big fan of the analog speedometers because it's very hard at a quick glance to tell what speed you're going, compared to when it's digital and it just has the number right there for you, especially if there's a glare or something like that from the sun behind you. If you're going high speeds, it's a little bit more vibration in there. It just gets much harder to see at a quick glance what your speed is, where you are on the tachometer. I would just love to have that a little bit more prominent. Maybe have the bigger tachometer and then have just the miles per hour in the middle of it, so that speed. So I feel like they could have done a little bit better job with this instrument cluster and the way that it's laid out and the practicality. And again, top 5 things, most of these are pretty nitpicky, but that is going to be my list of the things that I hate on this bike. If you agree or disagree, let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you love or hate about this bike as well. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see y'all in the next one.